Hurricane Iota was downgraded to Category 1 on its way through Central America, where it has caused storm surges, rain, flooding, and landslides. Russian President Vladimir Putin highlighted Tuesday the anti-COVID cooperation of the BRICS group and the countries and recalled the initiative to create a study center on coronavirus. President Donald Trump asked senior advisors last Thursday about potential options for attacking Iran's main nuclear site. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, I'm Gladys Quesada. Hurricane Iota was downgraded to Category 1 on its way through Central America, where it has caused storm surges, rain, flooding, and landslides. While Iota's winds are lower, the hurricane still has the potential to produce potentially catastrophic effects from flash flooding and mudslides over Central America. Landslides and floods are expected in portions of Central America due to heavy rainfall resulting from Iota. Also, strong winds could occur in coastal zones of Honduras, Nicaragua, and Guatemala. The Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and Inter-Caribbean Airways Ltd. officially signed a memorandum of understanding this Tuesday, establishing a mutual agreement for the movement of relief personnel and supplies necessary for providing an immediate coordinated response to regional disasters.
Today's MOU signing is about people, how we better protect them and secure their safety on those inevitable occasions when we're impacted by the diverse hazards which affect our region. The visionaries who crafted the agreement establishing SUDAN mandated the agency to, among other things, establish arrangements with regional airlines and shipping lines in order to ensure access to their facilities on a priority basis in the event of a disaster.
Inter-Caribbean is indeed pleased to partner with SUDAN in supporting our region, and we hope that the network that we have, the infrastructure we have, the assets we have in terms of airplanes, personnel, and other equipment will be, we can help to create a better or provide more immediate assistance in the region when the time comes.
In Peru, social movements and organizations protested to pay tribute to 2 young people killed by the police during anti-government protest. Altars were placed on the walls of downtown Lima in memory of the murdered 24 and 22 years old young men. The prosecutor's office is investigating former President Manuel Merino and his interior minister and other officials for the incident. In this context, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressed his concern about police repression in Peru and announced sending of a mission to investigate alleged human rights violations.
Congressmen must lose their parliamentary immunity so that they can go to jail.
In Argentina, political and union organizations, as well as social movements, will hold demonstrations in homage to Military Day. The celebration, which commemorates the return of former President Juan Domingo Perón to Argentina in 1972, aims to provide a message of support to the national government led by President Alberto Fernández. It also seeks to support the bill for an extraordinary social tax to the wealthiest, which will be debated this Tuesday in the Chamber of Parliament. The day will include multiple demonstrations throughout the country. Bolivia's public prosecutor's office ordered the arrest of former government and defense ministers for the improper use of influence and other crimes. On November the 5th, the judicial body issued arrest warrants for the former Minister of Government Arturo Murillo and former Defense Minister Fernando Lopez, both members of Yanine Áñez's de facto administration. The action is related to the investigation for the overpriced purchase of tear gases. The complaint was presented by deputies of the movement towards Socialist Party who denounced commercial irregularity. According to gathered information, the economic damage to Bolivia's treasury was approximately $2 million. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden has warned that people may die if his incoming administration continues to be impeded by incumbent Donald Trump. Mr. Biden said coordination was needed to tackle the coronavirus outbreak. He called President Trump's refusal to acknowledge he lost the election, despite calls to do so from both sides, totally irresponsible. The Trump campaign launched a flurry for legal challenges in the wake of November the 3rd vote to contest ballot counts. The president team is trying to have courts overturn votes in key states on the grounds that many ballots were invalid or improperly counted. So far, those efforts have failed and no evidence of significant fraud has emerged. President-elect Biden, a Democrat, has 306 votes in the Electoral College, surpassing the 270 threshold needed to win. Yet, Mr. Trump, a Republican, tweeted on Monday, "I won the election." And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Russian President Vladimir Putin highlighted Tuesday the anti-COVID cooperation of the BRICS group countries and recalled the initiative to create a study center on coronavirus. When intervening at the BRICS summit, this time via video conference, Putin pointed out that the summit in the Russian city of Ufa in 2015, it was agreed to create a warning center related to the coronavirus, long before the COVID-19 appeared. Russia is willing to share its research regarding COVID-19, including its Sputnik V and Epivac corona vaccines, as well as a third that is in preparation, Putin stressed. He also recalled that Brazil and China participate in the registration and third phase clinical trials of Sputnik V, while cooperation is being sought to produce the aforementioned vaccine in India and South Africa.
There are Russian vaccines. They work. They work effectively and safely. The question is now concerning mass production. It's very important to unite for the mass production of these products into wide circulation.
On Tuesday, China called for global collaboration on tracing the origins of the novel coronavirus, as it is a complicated scientific issue. China's call comes after Italy's National Cancer Institute published a new study saying that the virus likely began spreading in Italy last September, before the first registered cases in China.
We have seen repeated reports around the world on when and where the novel coronavirus broke out. It once again proved that tracing the origin of the virus is a complicated scientific issue which should be solved by scientists via global research and cooperation aiming to find the virus animal reservoir and its transmission route. This is for warding off the future risk of viral outbreak, as well as protecting the life and health of the people around the world. Tracing the virus source is a process of continuous development that may involve multiple countries and regions. We hope that all countries will adopt a positive attitude and strengthen cooperation with the World Health Organization and others to promote the global work of tracing the virus source. China will continue to actively participate in the global scientific research on tracing the virus source and its transmission routes, and work with the international community to contribute to global cooperation on epidemic and virus control.
The spokesperson also said that China supports its vaccine producers to cooperate with foreign partners in vaccine research and development.
Vaccines are the key means to overcome the COVID-19 pandemic. China actively advocates and promotes the international cooperation in vaccine research and development, supervision and use. We hope to work with the international community to promote the widespread use of safe and effective vaccines and medicines as soon as possible to play a positive role in overcoming the pandemic. China has repeatedly updated the development of its vaccines on various platforms, including the updates from me and my colleagues on this news briefing platform, as well as that of the State Council Information Office. The relevant enterprises have also repeatedly invited delegations from various countries for a visit, or published relevant reports on magazines. Chinese vaccine producers are going all out to make progress in vaccine research and development, and a number of vaccine candidates have entered phase 3 clinical trials. The Chinese government has also been actively supporting these Chinese enterprises to carry out vaccine research and development cooperation with foreign partners.
And the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison paid Tuesday an official visit to Japan to meet with his Japanese counterpart. Morrison is the first foreign leader to visit Japan since Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga took office in September. Australia's Prime Minister said he will work with Pacific Island and Asian nations to ensure vaccines that can be delivered across all of these countries next year, after signing a defense pact.
The Pacific Island states of the Southwest Pacific, or the ASEAN nations, where we will work together, as we are with many others, in ensuring that the vaccines that can be delivered across all of these countries, hopefully over the course of 2021, to return the world to a greater state of normal than we have known now for some time.
On Tuesday, Thai police fired water cannon and tear gas on pro-democracy protesters attempting to get close to parliament, where lawmakers debate possible changes to the military-scripted constitution. Several dozen took to the streets around the parliament building, where riot police had blocked off roads with concrete and barbed wire. Some protesters tried to protect themselves from the streams of water with large inflatable yellow ducks. Thailand has seen months of student-led demonstrations demanding reform to the constitution and monarchy. The demonstrations also demand that the current prime minister resigns. French police on Tuesday cleared a migrant street camp outside the Stade de France Stadium in the north of Paris, where around 2,000 people, mainly Afghan and African, had been living in tents. Dozens of police officers were deployed to carry out the operation, which took place in the midst of a nationwide coronavirus lockdown. The occupants of the camp were taken by bus to COVID-19 testing centers. Those who test positive will be placed in isolation, while those who test negative will be taken to different shelters and sports centers around the French capital. Paris is a key stop-off point of the European migrant route, with tented camps repeatedly sprouting up around the city, only to be torn down by the police months later. And we have more news coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. President Donald Trump asked senior advisors last Thursday about potential options for attacking Iran's main nuclear site, according to U.S. media reports. The advisors warned him that military action could spark a broader conflict. The White House has not commented on the accounts of the meeting. The U.S. withdrew from the 2015 nuclear deal. The landmark accord saw the U.S. and 5 other world powers give Iran relief from crippling economic sanctions in return for limits on sensitive activities to show it was not developing nuclear weapons, although Tehran has said that its nuclear program does not intend to build a weapon.
There may be attempts to attack Iran, but, and this is my personal opinion, not that of the government spokesman, I personally do not predict such a thing. I do not see such a possibility that they would want to bring insecurity to the world and the region. But in any case, our summarized response has always been that any action against the people of Iran will be met with a crushing response.
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said Tuesday that military operations in the northern Tigray region will enter in a final phase as global pressure mounted to bring the 2-week-old conflict to a swift end. Fresh air strikes hit the regional capital of Mekele on Monday as East African leaders called for an end to the conflict and for dialogue, which Ethiopia has so far resisted. The Prime Minister announced a military campaign in the breakaway region on November the 4th, saying it came in response to the attacks by the Tigray People Liberation Front on federal military camps. The fighting has left hundreds dead and prompted around 25,000 Ethiopians to flee across the border into Sudan. And these are images from Raquaba refugee camp in eastern Sudan, newly opened to cope with a sudden influx of over 25,000 people fleeing airstrikes, artillery barrages, and massacres in Ethiopia. Forced to flee their homes, traumatized by becoming separated from family members in the mad rush, and horrified after witnessing killings, refugees wander as if dazed in the camp, haunted by the terrifying nightmare of what they witnessed. Exhausted and terrified men, women, and children from the conflict zone struggle against searing heat and hunger to escape from it. The almost uninhabitable Gaza Strip is facing a rise in COVID-19 cases on Tuesday, totaling 486 infections in the last 24 hours, one of the highest rates since the pandemic broke out in March, health authorities warned. About 50 people died from the serious disease in the area, blocked and bombarded by Israel, according to the Jerusalem Post. Gaza Strip, where around 2 million people are living, faces a second and more severe wave of the pandemic with scarce resources and a fragile health assistance infrastructure, part of it damaged by Tel Aviv attacks. Palestine accumulates more than 76,000 COVID-19 infections and 647 patients have died of the disease, Wafa news agency says. And the number of new COVID-19 infections reported in a new day in India fell below 30,000 for the first time in the last 4 months. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare registered 29,000 cases of the infection. To this date, India has accumulated over 8 million COVID-19 cases. The death toll in India due to health complications caused by the pandemic amounted to 130,000 after 449 deaths were reported in the last 24 hours. The lethality rate due to this disease is now 1.47%, and it is among the lowest globally, according to health authorities. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa stressed Tuesday that the coronavirus pandemic demonstrates the need to accelerate the establishment of the BRICS Vaccine Research and Development Center during an online summit of BRIC countries chaired by Russia.
Experience demonstrates the need to accelerate the establishment of the BRICS Vaccine Research and Development Center in South Africa as agreed in the 2018 Johannesburg Declaration.
And we have come to the end of this news brief, but remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also, if you feel so inclined, join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.